Hmm. Hello, hello, hello. This is like a celebration. Women coming together, Women's Month, Women's Day. This is our time to shine. We've got Zoe, Diane, Sandra, Ingrid, Barbara Galloway. Yes. Anastasia, Jean, Chrissy, Rita, Bettina. Oh my gosh, Ingrid, I love you women. So when I decided to do this, it actually like brought tears to my eyes because I realized that, I mean, I've realized this over and over again, yet I couldn't do this work without you. That if it wasn't for the women that have heard me and have participated in this and encouraged me and have seen me and advocate for me and see my vulnerability and listen to me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be doing this. And so I have to bow in honor and in deep, deep gratitude for all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you for being this momentum that is here to bring this work forward. And what's so powerful about it is that a lot of you come from the Ascension world in the sense that you've heard me speak on the Stargate or being invited onto a show or someone that, is all about bringing in the new codes of Ascension and the new world of Ascension. Diane says, I love you, Michelle. I love you too. So with that, yeah, you've heard me, and we're all used to like going into these fields and being in merging with these like love, light, beauty, expansion world. And when I came along and I bring in Isis is like, whoa. Like, yeah. That's part of what we're doing, but it's not all of what we're here to do. And that's a really, really hard message for people to hear sometimes. Because let's face it, it's easy to spiritually bypass. It's easy to just sit in energies and feel the high and feel the beauty, feel all of that we get when we, are in that realm. And it's so powerful. And yes, it dredges the stuff up. Yet what happens when we're alone? What happens when we're home by ourselves or, confronting somebody or moving through some of this inner child stuff? And Isis, she is the totality. She's the total becoming. She is the everything. And she's been here since the beginning. And one of the biggest messages that she has right now, and I would say is coming through with a sense of urgency that is so it's like she is here to get in touch with as many of us as she can, and for her to help as many of us move through this next portal. She's here to, if you I'm using the word rescue in a sense. She's not here to rescue because we're not victims, but she's here to guide us. She's here to lead us through this. And it takes a lot of faith in yourself, a lot of faith in me, in order for you to show up to this. So I bow in honor to you. The deepest bow and grace of gratitude for being a part of this and pushing me and cheering me on and receiving this work. So with that, I think there's enough of you on. I see all your beautiful, shining faces. let's be honest, we hear all the time that it's like the women's time to shine. Okay, like here we are, the patriarchy is tumbling, it's being toppled, and we're not interested in just like having the matriarchy be in charge now, because we were there, that happened before in ancient times, and that was disproportionate. That was also part of the distortion. We're here to bring in balance. This is a time of reconciliation between the feminine and the masculine. And in order for the masculine to be able to rise, there needs to be this trust. There needs to be this sense of safety in the feminine. And because we're so wounded, and I'm not speaking like you have all these wounds. I'm speaking to the feminine in the world collectively, because that's still, and I know we're moving into new timelines and all that stuff, but I'm going to bring you back to reality right now, back to reality. In this waking moment, the feminine is still kind of being held in these wounded parts. And we're here to not only heal ourselves, trust ourselves, find safety in ourselves, in each other. Again, like become one and all with our sisters, with our priestesses, with our families, with our ancestors. We're here because when we can do that first, then the masculine can lean in and trust more, and then we have this rising together. So that's kind of what's happening right now on this planet. And when I say there's still wounding, it's like, there's these like crazy examples everywhere where you're just like, what the fuck? I was at the park 2 days ago with my daughter and her friend who has this sweet mom, and I haven't seen her in months. And the mom shares that she had to have surgery, to repair the muscles in her, just show you, there's like muscles that go down here, and when you have a baby, they kind of go like this. And I know there's a term for this, but because I'm so hyped up right now, I can't remember it. But hers were so bad that like her intestines were starting to spill over, and she had to go have surgery to have this fixed. And she kept saying like, I'm so glad I made this choice. I'm so glad I made this choice. And I'm like, of course you would make that choice. And she said, well, my insurance company wouldn't cover it. I'm like, what? We think we're liberated, and you have this like awful condition that's making all these terrible things happen. Like, this is what I mean. Like, where I'm saying we are still gathering ourselves back and learning what it means to truly be fully liberated women. And we're going to have Isis come in. She's going to lead us through this whole thing. And I'm going to lead you through some movement, very gentle, not making you like get up and dance around, although that's a huge part of this. You got to start moving. You got to start moving. Trust me, that stagnation is like the killer in all of us. And yet, when I am trying to do my research, because when Isis comes through, it's like, I'm going to give you a bit, and then I'm going to like make you figure it out. I'm going to give you a bit, and then I'm going to make you figure it out. So the researcher in me, because Isis is the typical, she is the archetypal perpetual student. I don't know if any of you know this. This was part of my research and understanding, is that Isis, before she incarnates with her beloved bridegroom brother Osiris to help humanity, she is the devoted student to Thoth. She sits and studies all the magic, all the incantations. She's devoted to him in the sense that that's where, so her magic, it was trained. She didn't come in fully just as Isis, she trained and she studied, and she is the archetype of the perpetual student. And so it makes sense that it's that part of me that wants to gather this information. So the feminine, we have this idea, somebody that means a lot to me said to me in the somewhat recent past, what is this nonsense about the myths? The myths don't mean anything. And that almost nearly ripped my heart out, because it's through the myths that we find the clues, the answers. We're rewriting a myth right now. That's what this time is about. It's about rewriting a myth. And we don't get to fully rewrite something if we don't know where we're starting from. In the field of trauma, in the field of somatic therapy and trauma therapy, there's an idea, and this follows your brain mind mechanism. And I know I'm kind of all over the place, so just stay with me and stay with me. There's an idea that the way that we heal from trauma, the way that we move past and we heal, is not from having this idea that we're just going to like make something go away. It's getting our story. It's going inside and finding those fragments and turning them into fractals. It's creating a cohesive story and then writing the next chapter of triumph. And so that's what I am devoted to do. I am devoted to understanding and bringing the story of women and of humanity together so that we can write this next chapter of triumph. And that next story, that next chapter, is the reconciliation. Now, when we go and we look at some of these myths, and part of what I'm doing in my equinox thing with Isis is looking at the myth of ascension, because the myth of ascension, what we celebrate as Easter, is actually Jesus was like the last one to kind of go through it. But we have Demeter and Persephone, we have Sybil and Attis, we have Osiris and Isis, you have Tammuz and Dumuzi, we have Ishtar, this is a perpetual story that's been going on. And so when we understand this story, and we can understand the psychic urgency, we can understand what's moving us from the inside out, because that's what these archetypal stories do. They move us from the inside out. Now, as we search these stories, what we realize is that the sacred union and the story of ascension is truly the story of psyche and consciousness uniting together. We have the fall of psyche into the underworld. We have the fall of psyche into human incarnation. And the psyche is the individual soul. And it falls into incarnation, and where it has to go and travel back because it can get trapped and stuck. And it has to travel back and make that merge and that union with consciousness again. And that's what is that sacred union. Now, in the myths, consciousness is the masculine principle, and psyche is the feminine principle. Psyche is synonymous with Sophia. So when we look and trace the distortion, what we realize is that it's psyche that was pressed down and repressed. It's psyche that was essentially put through this sense of fragmentation. And without psyche, consciousness can't merge. And so then that becomes distorted. So how do we reclaim psyche? That is what the story of the lost goddess is. It's how we reclaim our journey. And that journey is the journey of Persephone. It is the journey of Yeshua. It is the journey of Inanna. It is the journey of Isis and Osiris. This is the same story over and over and over again. And it's not like we are going to, in the next, we're going to become fifth dimensional, and then, oh my God, we're just going to be in union, blah, blah, blah. Like that is this, this, there's this repair, there's this depth, there's this reclamation, and that is a celebration that we can all claim that we're going to do together. We are reclaiming what it means. And now when we look at the goddess, there's like 9 faces of the goddess. There's all this spectrum of the goddess. And the goddess has had to be fragmented, because if she's here in her totality, she's too much. You can't have distortion and the totality of the goddess. And you can't have distortion and the totality of the god. And so they have been fragmented. They're fragmented within us. And now I'm going to get to that part in a minute. That fragmentation is what we're healing, because that's the journey of psyche, of going down into the underworld, going into the shadows, taking them and bringing the unconscious into consciousness, and having them come into union within ourselves. So there's a lot of talk right now. I am bombarded by this whole obsession with the draconian wars and the Orions, and they're trapping souls, and 5D is programming our brains, and they're trapping us into incarnations and reincarnations, and they're trapping us in all this stuff. And this is from people that I know from my Ascension communities. I am like, some people I'm not even answering the phone, because I'm like, you're like gone, you're like cuckoo at this point. Like, I'm aware darkness exists on this planet. I'm aware it exists in the cosmos. We are a microcosm of the macrocosm. And yet, no one's taking away this experience that I'm having of union, and telling me that I need to fixate on fear, or that, this thing is happening out there in the universe, when right here in this human body and this human world, I'm like, okay, I'm glad that you are you're aware that there's this thing, you're talking about this perpetual battle between dark and light, but you're putting it out in the universe, and you're not looking at it in here. And this brings me to the idea of sovereignty. Because sovereignty is, and this is all from Isis, sovereignty is when we reclaim our survival instincts. So the more that we keep hearing, the more that we're in fear, the more we have to let go of fear, but no one's showing us how. And that's what Isis wants to do. She's here to show us how to reclaim our survival instincts. She's here to show us how to build more capacity to hold everything. She's here to show us how to find safety and trust in ourselves again, in each other, in the masculine. She's here to show us how to become the shapeshifter. because the shapeshifter is the power of Isis is that she can move between her different identities. And and why? Because they're fully intact in her. And that brings me to this special point on the calendar in the Northern Hemisphere. We're going into the spring equinox. And the spring equinox, before we have too much of the distortion, is synonymous with the mother, the maiden, and the crone. That is the story of Persephone and Demeter. And when I do this, I'm starting the equinox program tomorrow, and we're going to go into that more. And so I'm not going to go in and explain the whole story. What I will say is the mother, the maiden, and the crone is what we're here to restore within each and every one of ourselves, so we can become whole again. The feminine needs to become whole again. And that's where we're pulling our sleeves up. We understand that what's happening on this human level is also happening on a cosmic level, as above, so below. It's all, happening at the same time. And while we have I don't think we really have much control over what's happening out there. We can work within, and working within is working within the soul, the own individual journey. That is what psyche is. So by claiming our own inner journey of going into our depths and bringing that into consciousness and reconciling that, we are not only bringing forward this, reclaiming the feminine, we're doing the work for the cosmos within our own self, because the cosmos exists within our whole being. Do you know how big our lungs are? Our lungs are like you can unravel them, and I think they say it'd be like football fields if you were to take them thread by thread. There is a sophisticated cosmological beingness within our entire physicality. The neurons in our brain and how they work, and the synapses and the whole, we are the cosmos. And that's what we're here to experience. So I'm going to invite you on a journey to aid me and allow Isis to come through and honor the maiden and the mother and the crone that is within you and your relationship to this in an embodied way. And by doing that, we are beginning to make a commitment to making this feminine being that we are stronger. And the more that we commit to working and building capacity to work with fear, to work with shadows, to work with so-called darkness within, we're beginning to reclaim our own survival instincts. And again, the survival instincts are what we are restoring, because we can't get stuck in that animal brain. We have to be able to have the freedom to experience anger, to experience mobilization and immobilization and safety. We need to be able to use those forces within our body for our own co-creative power. And if there are beings out there that are creating that distortion, that are creating this draconian wars and trying to trap souls and all kinds of crazy shit that I still don't even know. Yeah, I'm that's just crazy. I'm not saying yes or no. What I'm saying is, if we restore our sovereignty, we don't have to worry about that, because we just get to stand as the co-creator we are. So part of restoring that is saying, okay, what does it mean to be the sacred feminine? Oh, it means that I am the mother, maiden, crone, all in one. And being a crone doesn't just mean that I stopped bleeding as a woman. Being a mother doesn't just mean that I have had children. Being a maiden doesn't just mean, oh, I'm a young girl and I, you know, haven't had a baby yet, or I'm a virgin still. Like that, those are kind of part of what they distorted, like the trickle down thing. We don't even know the true power of these parts of ourselves yet. I'm just going to speak for myself and say, I don't even know the true power of these parts of myself yet. And as I know, because I am a mother and I have a 14-year-old, you might have heard of her. Her name is Satori. I have another, a 4 or 5-year-old as well. But my 14-year-old has a boyfriend right now. And it's scary, as I can't be mom right now without having to revisit my own inner maiden, my own 14-year-old self, my own first love, first crush, first sexual experience. All of that shit is coming up inside me right now. And I have to I have to become sovereign by sitting with and allowing all of that stuff that is unresolved in me to show up, so that I can be true mother and not parent from my wounds. So it's bubbling all that stuff up to the surface and become like, whoa, my inner maiden is nowhere near intact. Most of us don't have an inner maiden intact because there was nothing to support that. We had nothing in our society. There was no institutions. Isis was not the center of our institution. She was not the center of our heart and of healing. And that's what we're restoring. So I have to say, okay, beautiful time of year, perfect time of year, makes sense. Okay, I'm on the journey of my soul where this is coming up for healing right now. And then it's making me go deeper into the psychic understanding of the maiden and the psychic understanding of the mother and the crone. Because when I look back, I can go back 15 years ago. I did this past life regression, this soul regression, and I met the crone. I met this like, oh yeah, this like little medicine woman. I'm like, holy shit, this crone has been trying to lead me for over a decade, and I've ignored her. I've ignored it. I've ignored it. And so the medicine of this time of year is for us to begin to tap into the power, the journey of that triple goddess, because we are all that, and we are all here to bring that in. And that means having to sit with and go into these places where, that shadow allows us to see what stops us from being the warrioress. Okay, it's 11 o'clock. I know I'm talking a lot, and I want to start leading you through something. But I am so goddamn excited about what I'm doing and what I'm beginning to bring forward. And I so finally get what the mission is. And that is a huge part of this time of year. And there's lots of, there's eclipses. This is all about us really getting in touch with our deepest wounds and understanding how that's blocking us from our soul purpose. So I will say this. there's a lot happening out in the multiverses. And it's amazing. And we are so an inner mirror of what's happening out there. And can you give yourself permission to just take this time, take this hour, take this week, take, this month, take this life to actually devote a little bit to what's happening within here, your own individual psyche, your own soul journey. Because Aries, the equinox that we're moving into, is about becoming that spiritual warrior. And that spiritual warrior can't come out in the world unless we go in, take those shadows, kind of reclaim them, bring them into consciousness so that we have the power. And with that, I'm laughing because I hear Isis and I know what is going to happen. I in the sense that she's going to show us how the feminine warrior in her has moved through the world. So I'm going to invite you to just let go of everything I just said. I just shit out my mouth for a half an hour. Thank you for letting me do that. Anybody have a question? Do you know that a lot of the knowledge of Thoth comes from Sheshat, the partner of Thoth, and she is almost never acknowledged? The feminine has, isn't that crazy? I don't know a lot about that yet, honestly. How I have researched Isis and everything else, I've studied transpersonal psychology. I have degrees and all that kind of. Academically, I'm very knowledgeable about Gnosticism and psychology and trauma. But Isis, she's never really, she didn't exist in my reality until she came dropping in. And how I research Isis is that I don't research Isis. And when I'm in the midst of creating some kind of, I'm ready to bring something out and I have to create something, she will somehow, through what I call more transpersonal research, through intuitive research, I'll be sitting at the library with my kid and a book will be sitting right in front of me, like the kid's book with this, and some message will appear, or a book that I borrowed from somebody 25 years ago and never opened will, I'll just happen to pick it up and go in there and be like, oh my God, this is exactly what happened with Isis. So yeah, I don't know much about Sheshat and Thoth. I just know the pieces that come to me. And the reason I do that is because it becomes that spiritual, it becomes the verification. So I know I'm not making this up. And then, so when I have this experience within me, that's what this is. And then of course I can find, what Isis can come through and the words can come out and it all makes sense. So, yes, women, I just want to invite you all to get comfortable. And again, to let go of words and just come to feeling your own body. So whatever you got to do, if you need to make space, if you need to get a blanket because you realize you're cold, or, put your socks on or get yourself comfortable, just allow yourself to do that. Completely give yourself permission to get in a space that feels comfortable to you. I do not suggest that you lay down, because I might ask you to feel your hips, to feel like your body, and that although there's beautiful, amazing experiences we can do laying down, this is not one. It just might be a little bit harder. So if you have to, do it. But if you don't have to, then don't. But if you really want to, put your impulses first. And just begin to feel your feet making contact with the ground, with the earth. Where does your feet, you can feel your toes, you can feel your heels, the inner and outer edges. You can get as creative as you want with that, but just feel your feet touching the earth, touching the fabric of your socks. If you're barefoot, you can feel the air on your feet. And feel your ankles and allow them to just kind of feel heavy if you can. And if you don't feel your feet because you have, then just begin to move your energy up the legs. Just move up the legs, feeling all those places where you can feel your body and the surface of, your chair, your bed, the fabric of your pants. Just where does your skin end and the world outside you begin? And you're moving your energy up to the pelvis. And beginning to feel your sit bones. You can feel where there's more pressure, where there's less pressure, where the places that are meeting the earth, the places that are not. You're just being curious. There's no right or wrong. You're just dropping into the body. You're dropping into the body. And if you've done this with me many times, there is no, it's like, it's not about, I've done this before. It's about, I can do this over and over and over again and come back to the present moment. So just feel the weight of your body, the weight of your pelvis, the legs, the feet. And I want to invite you to just even begin to rock back and forth a little bit. Rock back and forth and see if you can feel those bones that are pressing into the ground. There's no right or wrong if you can't. That's just be curious, like, okay, I can't. And if you can, that's wonderful. And something I also like to teach, something that helps us get grounded, because we're making a stance as women. We're so tied into being people pleasers that we have to learn how to stand firm. And so as you're exploring this area, I want you to imagine there's a giant crystal ball. Like I always, when I describe this, it's like my mother-in-law has this giant crystal ball that's like the size of a bowling ball. And it's so heavy, you can't even move it. But imagine that's sitting in your pelvis, like this big, heavy crystal. Bowling balls aren't pretty enough for our womb space. So I want you to envision this giant crystal ball, just so heavy, so weighted inside you. And because it's so heavy, you can feel there's like pressure. You can feel your legs heavy. You can feel your feet heavy. Just feel, like the bones are being weighed down. And you can allow that gentle rocking And maybe because there's such a giant heavy ball, you can't rock as much, but you can feel weighted. You can feel that connection. And because that giant heavy ball is like in your pelvis and you got to like hold it up, you need to like press into your feet a little bit, so like feel, and that you can imagine, even if you want, there's like cement blocks on your feet, or your feet are like buried in the earth, like that heavy feeling. You can have crystal balls that are even smaller, like on your feet. You just want to feel that heaviness. And as you're doing that, you can still play with rocking. You can notice that sometimes it slows down. Sometimes you can come back to it. We're waking this part of ourselves up. And this is an exploration. I don't care how many times you've done this with me. If you're doing this more and more and more and more, the next time that you need to say no and you're having a hard time doing it, you're going to remember this, and this is going to help you. But it takes practice. We're embodying this sense of ourselves. We're embodying this part. We're essentially finding, through our sense of physical self, through our sense of feeling the matter, the matter being the body. I know we are not our body, but by feeling the body, we are entering the realm of psyche. By feeling the body, the message that goes to your brain is, I matter. I am somebody. I am self. This is me. So there is a vital importance in this. And already this could make you start feeling some pain, some stuff bubbling up to the surface. There's a reason why we shut ourselves off. It's because we store so much stuff in there. And if your womb, if you've had hysterectomy, energetically, it's all intact. It's all intact. So whether or not the apparatus is there, all of the energetic apparatus is still intact. So it doesn't matter. But I want you to begin to energize this place, to find a stance from your own space. And you can come, if you want, if it doesn't distract you too much, just even placing your hands like over your womb space a little, like this. And just feel your hands, so that even if you're feeling some stuff bubbling up to the surface, if it feels too intense, slow it down and just focus on what it feels like to have your hands there. Just focus a little. You can just feel your hands if it gets too intense. With that giant crystal ball. Just feel that area. And you can even try side to side a little bit, seeing what that brings up, seeing if that brings a little bit more liveliness. And as you're doing this, just notice your breath. Notice what's happening to your breath. Maybe you notice that your breath is getting a little shallow, or you're stopping to breathe. And if that's the case, then just come back to that sensation of the hands there. Because when we just hold and touch ourselves, when we just feel our feet on the ground, we just feel, the gentle places where the legs are connected, we just come back to safety. And it all starts there. Because the momentum that we are a part of is this bottom-up journey. We are not working top-down. Top down is power over. Bottom up is rising. It's the feminine. So as you're just feeling this giant ball, maybe you're rocking back and forth, you're waking up, you're just feeling your hands if you need to, saying hello, beginning to notice breath. You might feel now that there is actually more space for breath. And a lot of times when I'm teaching somatics, when I'm teaching embodiment work, I don't really spend a lot of time telling people how to breathe right now, because I just want you to open space inside for the breath to do what it normally wants to do. And because we are creatures learning to work bottom up, we have to just be able to build a bigger and better capacity to include everything. And so as you're sitting here rocking back and forth on your pelvis, feeling your feet anchored, feeling the heaviness, moving your hands so that you feel the weight of the hands there. Just be gentle and see if you can begin to allow that energy to move up a little bit. And by moving up, I'm rocking back and forth because that's where my body is intuitively wanting to go. My nervous system is guiding that. And just be aware, just see if you can notice what your body wants to do, if it wants to move a little bit, if it wants to move side to side or just gentle rocking back and forth, whatever. I just want you to begin to move that energy up into your solar plexus. And see if you can just notice where the energy wants to go. Like maybe you feel like the energy wants to move up your heart and up your throat and in your chest. Maybe you're just noticing that the energy wants to stay in the pelvis area. Maybe you're just like wanting to spend time in that crystal with that crystal ball. Oh, that could feel so good. But I want to give you permission to just track and notice where your energy wants to go right now. And so I'm offering the invitation of moving it up, because some of you might want to feel more expansion in the chest and see how from a weighted pelvis, that's actually how we find more freedom in our chest, in our ribs, in our lungs, in our breath, in our shoulders. So there's a secret for you. But this is your body and your journey. This is your journey. And so as you just play, I'm going to bring in Isis, and I want you to stay connected into your own body's journey, into your own beingness. And if you get lost, if you get overwhelmed, if it becomes too painful, come back to the hands, come back to feeling the hands over the womb space, or one hand on the womb space, one hand on the heart, if that's better. I just want to give you these choices. Just feel the body rocking if that's the case. But we want to come back. We want to be able to come back. And so stay with your own journey. Stay with your own journey. Allow the body to begin to open. Allow yourself to open. Dearest ones, this is Isis. And I speak through this one by flooding her with energy and quieting her mind in a way that there is a sensation and an impulse that she leans into. And when she leans into it, she can find this sense of connection that becomes a rhythmic pattern of words and voice. And I share this so that you can understand how this so-called tapping into the goddess, tapping into a being that is not oneself, can occur. It is an embodied experience, and it is available to all of you. Now, as you are feeling this weighted crystal ball heavy in the pelvis, dearest, you can say that, yes, this one is sharing this because it is a good source of imagery. And yet, what she is not realizing is that we are the ones sending this through. And when I say we, dearests, I say we from the aspect of Isis and Osiris already in union. For it is the feminine and masculine working together. And so as you feel this crystal ball weighted in your pelvis, just get very, very, very curious. Allow this crystal to begin to work with you. Feel the heaviness and the weight, dearests. Because as this one has said, the divine feminine is very much about reclaiming, restoring the understanding of psyche. It is very much about restoring this bottom-up journey and working with your sensations is not necessarily working with the body. It's working with the interface. It allows you into your own inner landscape, your own inner psychic journey. And we already know from all of the quantum understandings that you must feel. Oh, you must feel. You must feel. And so as this weighted crystal ball, this sphere that is so heavy, sits solid, strong in this pelvic area. I ask each and every one of you, are you ready to truly restore the divine feminine back into its totality again? And if you would like to participate, then it will start by becoming solid and firm in yourself. To feel yourself anchored in your pelvic region, to feel yourself, the weight and strength of your legs and feet becomes very useful when one is about to be toppled over, when a wind comes and is about to knock you down. This is where an embodied sense of no comes from. This is where you know how to assert yourself. And so we offer and emphasize this resource right now of just feeling the weight of the pelvis, feeling the feet on the ground. Because the more that you play with that, the more it becomes accessible. And the next time you are in an argument with your spouse or children or someone out, or you are advocating, or you feel where your boundaries are getting crossed, or you are being this people pleaser or giving out too much, you will remember to just feel the weight of the pelvis pressing down, the weight of the feet. And it will become a way of bringing you back. When you feel yourself getting very angry, this is a very good skill and tool. And as this one has shared, there is a lot being spoken right now about humans being enslaved, draconian wars. Dearest, this is a part of a universal truth. And yet, those that are focusing on that are doing so as a way to distract them from what is happening within their own self. It is the same thing as someone that you know that is not so much into spiritual work, that is being trapped in the cycle of addictions, traumas, sufferings. For if you are a co-creator, then one must be able to come back to self amidst all that is happening outside. And that is why we emphasize these resources and tools for you, so that you can learn how to become a master of these so-called lower forces, these animal forces. Now, feeling the weight of the pelvis, feeling the crystal ball, feeling the sensations, the bones, the heaviness, feeling the feet, the legs. And as you are doing so, I'm going to take you into the next layer of understanding of the magic of this crystal ball inside your womb space. I want you to envision Isis. I'm going to tell you a story. And as I tell you this story, I'm going to do so in a way that it can strengthen and become a magnet for you to restore these wounded parts. And so feeling the weight, bringing your image to this crystal ball inside your womb space, as if you were looking in it and you see Isis. And I will paraphrase, for lack of a better word. I will just share a little story that has been told in the myths. Those of you that wish to research it can. It is the time when Horus is ready to claim himself as rightful king. And there is a meeting of all the figures that are here to determine if it is indeed Horus's right to take the throne after it was usurped by Set. And I, Isis, as part of the council, present the case. And it is the goddess Neith, the warrioress, that makes the suggestion that sure, this Horus should indeed be given back the throne. And Set be compensated with lands and beautiful goddess wives. But he is not satisfied with this. And so the arguing continues. There are those that side with Set, and there are those that agree with Isis. Isis, dearest, as mother that will stop at nothing to ensure that her child receives his birthright, that he is put on the throne as king, as intended, Mother that is here to see justice, divine justice be served. This is an aspect of mother, one that man has feared. And in this meeting, as Isis is holding a strong argument, one could say, this one Set comes up with an idea that a new meeting place should occur without Isis there on an island, that she should not be able to be part of this decision making. And the others agree. Isis is not allowed to be part of this decision making. So they set it up. And there is the man that is meant to take the boats to lead people to the island. And he is told Isis is not allowed on this island. Women that look like Isis are not allowed on this island. And so he begins taking people back and forth. And because I am Isis and I am the totality, I turn myself into the crone, the old lady. And the old lady comes and says, I must deliver this food to the cattle ranchers. And the man guarding the boat says, I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to bring women. And the old crone says, but that is because they don't want Isis. Surely an old wrinkled woman could not be Isis. And of course, the old woman throws in a gift. And he agrees to take her over. And so Isis as crone comes to the island where she sees them all gathering this council to determine her son's fate, where she then turns herself into the young, supple, juicy maiden and is sure to catch the eye of Set. She is dripping with fertility and softness and innocence. And this Set sees Isis disguised as young maiden and is of course lured by his own loins to the maiden. And the maiden shares a story of how she needs help because her own husband had this tragedy and something happened where now her young child is not being rewarded his cattle. And she just stares at his eyes like the helpless maiden, dripping in beauty. And Set says, why, if someone hurt and killed your husband, of course your child should have the cattle. And of course, Set is saying this because he wants the maiden. Yet, as he shares these words, he's speaking to his own position. And the maiden smiles. And as Set thinks that he is going to receive her, that she is going to lay herself down and open her legs for him, this maiden turns into the kite bird. For you all are familiar with the wings of Isis, and many think that they are angel wings. Yet I assure you that the wings of Isis are the wings of a more scavenger bird, dearests. And as Isis is turned into this bird, she caws and makes a call. And this one goes into a fury as he knows what has happened now. He has been tricked. And Isis transforms herself again into Isis for all to see and shares what has just occurred and the proclamation that Set has made. And it is from that proclamation that she has indeed tricked him into, that the decision has been made. Horus is the rightful king. Feel your pelvis, dearests. Feel your pelvis. Feel this crystal ball. Feel the innocent maiden that is needing help and direction. Feel the wise old crone that knows all. Feel the mother that will stop at nothing for her child. Allow your own womb space to be filled. Allow this crystal ball to be strengthened, this energy to be strengthened. And so this archetypes, these developmental stages, these powerful aspects of the goddess can be entrained. I am entraining these energies into your own being. So that the parts of you that need to be brought into this alignment can do so knowing the truth. The truth is that the maiden, the spring maiden, the forever maiden is a part of you in all of your ripeness, all of your fertile potential, all of your beauty, all of your grace, sometimes helpless and needing the assistance of others, playful. Notice what happens inside your body. Notice what arises, dearest. And if it is intense, just feel the weight. Feel your hands. And you may call your own inner maiden, the beautiful young one within you, and ask her, how does she align with this? Where inside of your own inner maiden do you need some repair? And you can go slow, dearests. You can go slow. And know that this is the spring equinox, the time when the maiden is returned to her mother, as Persephone returns from the underworld to the blessed Demeter, the mother. And so I want you to ensure your own inner maiden that whatever is stuck in the underworld for her, we are here to restore that. The mother is here, and feel Isis as mother. Beautiful, radiant queen, cosmic queen, queen of the underworld. I stop at nothing to ensure. And for those of you that say, oh, well, you ensure Horus is a king, then you might want to familiarize yourself with this beautiful story of Persephone and Demeter, because it is indeed an emanation of Isis. And so, mother, calling out to Kore, to daughter, this wounded maiden in you. Can she hear, can she feel right now within your own body and being, mother, goddess mother, here to ensure that she gets to live as the internal spring maiden, ensures that she still remains a queen in her own right. Mother serving you, loving you, holding you. Knowing that nothing could tear us apart forever. I am mother, dearest. I am mother. And I am here to hold you and help you. I am devoted to repairing any mother wound you have in your own self. I am here, dearests. The wound of mother. We are all daughters, dearests. This one was just sent a poem from the beloved Ashanka who serves the divine feminine well. And in that poem, it said, we are all daughters of mothers who are daughters of mothers. And our lineage continues. And as Divine Mother, dearests, I am here to repair this lineage of Divine Mother in all of you, in your ancestors, in your children, in your children's children. And this goes into Gaia, the Great Mother, and Tiamat, her dragon mother, and the Cosmic Mother. And it goes forward and forward and forward and back and back. And it culminates in this very sensation that you are feeling right inside your own womb space. A pinching, a tickle, a twinge. All occurring, the whole lineage back and forth within this moment of now. Feel me as mother. Feel the throbbing of your womb. Feel the totality, the support, and allow yourself to say it is safe to bring forward all of these pieces that are still in the shadows, all of the wounded pieces. I have the womb of Isis transposed in my womb. And because I am the mother, I am the maiden, and I am also the crone, dearest. I am the wise one that holds all the experiences, that has been through it all already, that can stand up in the face of danger and fear and be so solid in my own self, small and withering in my appearance, yet solid and knowing in my being. You cannot knock me over. It is with the glare of my eye, the cackle, the practicality. It is with the courage that I go into the unknown as Crone, willing to stand and set forward a plan in motion, willing to bring and lead you through the transitions, And there is much about Isis as Crone. And in your human world, the Crone has been perhaps distorted the most, abused the most. And yet, you are redefining what it means to be Crone. There are women in their older years everywhere, claiming their maiden, using their ability as mother, traveling, knowing, studying, redefining what it means to age, guiding others. Never upon your earth has it been so inspiring. And the youth get to look up to this. Just as Hecate, the crone, leads Persephone from the underworld back into union with her own mother. With her lit torches, she lights the way so that the maiden doesn't have to do it alone. But the crone doesn't get to be the totality until these other aspects are whole. And whether you are a woman of bleeding age still or beyond, I ask you, what is your relationship, your own inner crone? Do you fear this time? Do you see it as your limitation? Are you living in a sense of regret? Or have you fully found the celebration? And if not, are you willing to go inside, allow Isis to lead you? Whether these parts and aspects of yourself feel wounded, bring your hand to your body in love, in celebration, in honor of all that you have endured, all that you have carried, all that you have been programmed with. And as you feel your hands on your body, perhaps you bring that sense of rocking, that sense of weight that we worked with as this crystal ball has brought forward. And as you become more anchored in this connection, can you just give yourself permission to honor the totality, to allow this crystal ball to be like a magnet, like imagine and see and sense, if you can, a swirling energy that is drawing and pulling you, pulling these fragments together, moving threads, weaving, cleansing, so that this triple goddess that is Isis, that is creation, can be one and whole. Every stage of your development is sacred. And this, you have been overlaid with the womb of Isis. See how this trickery works, dearest. I start with the crystal ball. And now assure you that your womb is the womb of Isis. And you have nothing to fear. All of these parts of yourself, if you are willing to feel, if you're willing to touch them, to slow down and make space and curiosity, and work from the bottom up, you will indeed ensure the divine feminine is brought back into her totality within you, through you, as part of you. This is how the story is rewritten. This is how we move the story, the myth forward, reclaiming the truth and seeing who you become as these parts of self are restored. And as you work, dearests, at feeling self, working with these nerve centers, holding space, slowing down to feel and process, then you are indeed restoring your own self from the bottom up and emanating that energy to others. It is the crone that is said to be the most feared. So let us take a moment and honor her. Yes, it is the autumn equinox that the crone is spent time with. So those of you in the Southern Hemisphere, this is your time to truly embrace the crone as medicine. And those of you in the North, of course, are embracing the Maiden. But in truth, no matter who you are, where you are, you can work with ever and all. But as you begin to unite yourself with all of these cosmic mothers and maidens and beings of the multiverses, may you work with the ones inside of you. I love you, dearests. Now feel this crystalline womb of Isis. Just spending time noticing the sensations, any pulsing and tingling. You are mothers of the earth. You are mothers to many things beyond children, to creative endeavors. Your creative impulse is tied into the triple goddess. And I assure you that the more that you allow yourself to feel the totality of who you are, your journey as co-creator will be far more than you ever thought you were capable of. I love you and I am with you always. And we'll talk with you again. Oh, so just slowly beginning to rock your body back and forth, side to side. Feeling any sensations that came up and just sitting with those, just anchor, allow yourself to just bathe in the sensations and the experiences that just occurred so that all of your cells can rewire, can anchor this. Get my sweater because I'm so cold. Ooh. Ooh, went over. I'm sorry that was so long. If anybody has to go, you can sign off, and I honor you. Thank you for being here. If anybody wants to stay and just write in your comments, I can hold some space. If you need to go, so the thing about these medicine journeys, this is more of a transpersonal journey. So we're tapping into the archetypal, the conscious realms. Judy says, just wow. I know. So if you just feel like you're inward and you need to just write and really integrate what you saw, who you worked with, you can. I'm going to go deeper into the Persephone and Demeter, Isis, equinox in the next 4 days on my equinox journey. There's a lot of you that are already signed up for that. If not, you can join me in that. I'm going to travel with the Maiden in a women's group. There's a few spots open in that, and that goes to the Beltane. And the Beltane is when the liberated Maiden comes forward. So this is a special time. And what's really important is that you all understand that that Yeshua was not the first initiate to go through the resurrection rites, that we have the feminine Kore, Persephone, that also goes into the depths of the underworld and ascends, and that this is also an ascension of the Maiden returning as to her mother. And so I hope that gives you a greater context. And I'm going to talk about, when we do this thing, that I'm like, Isis and Osiris was the first resurrection rites we hear of, but there's more, there's more. There's more. Like, this is a perpetual thing. So and the beauty of Persephone is that she's the maiden, Demeter's the mother, and Hecate's the crone. Barb said, oh my God, Barb is the queen, is my crone queen. Michelle, Isis, and all of us whole goddesses. Oh my gosh. I have to post a picture of me, Barbara, and Satori in Egypt, because Barbara is this amazing older woman that Satori is in love with and is and I feel like if I did anything right in this world, it's raise my daughter to honor the crone, to honor the mother, to honor all the parts of herself. So, and through this work, because this crone energy is so powerful right now for me, I'm like, I, as mother, as like 45-year-old woman going through perimenopause, so I'm, my body's starting to change and I'm starting to move into that phase. I am so gifted in getting to hold space and know all of these women that are in their croneship, because it's making me realize that it's not the end of my life. I can still explore my maiden. I can still travel. I can still do workshops. I can still meet people. I can still be a mother, and I can, and that's the beauty. So thank you for that gift and what you bring. And this is what I mean when I say you don't even realize what you bring as women, and like the gift of who you are. You're showing me how to age, how to parent, all of these pieces. Thank you. It was so synchronistic. Thank you, Isis. Yeah, cool. I hope that carries you on your journey. And if no one else wants to share, I'm going to leave you. Allow this to sit, write and work with your own inner maiden. If you're not going to work with and do my things, just promise me, as we're bringing this divine feminine back, that you are open, go into your own psyche, go into your own self, find your own inner shadows, and allow that maiden to speak. Allow her to share with you her fears and my generosity. Thank you for the generosity of your beingness. Thank you. Yeah, let's honor the maiden right now as well, and the mother. So I love you all, and I am here. I am devoted. So yeah, you'll just hear more from me soon. Thank you very much. Zoe says, thank you, Isis and Michelle. Yay. Aw. I'm working with the rising rage from this lifetime and making decisions to allow it to integrate. Yeah, there's a lot of rage. As a matter of fact, Isis is saying, I'm going to repeat the Sacred Dragon program and teaching how to work with rage and anger soon, because this is a huge part of what I mean about reclaiming our survival instincts, is allowing space to feel and allow that stuff to move through. And what Isis, when she shares, it's like there's aggression, there's rage, there's anger, that becomes part of what mobilizes us. And there's a way that we can, when it's not in control of us, when we are open and we can hold space for those emotions to move through us, then we're sovereign. We're not enslaved. So, thank you. Let me see here. What else people have to say? Sacred rage journeys. Wow. Yeah, I'm doing it differently now. This is going to be, I'm going to like have little snippets. I've learned how to do so much more on the computer. So it's going to be good. But I need some time to like make it happen. So, alrighty, Bettina, love you. Thank you, maidens. Thank you, crones. This is our time to shine. And I am not okay on anymore with like this whole idea of like, oh, we just have to like let all that past go. And, no, we need to heal that shit. And it's, Chrissy says she's long been waiting for a program like this. Thank you, Chrissy. Yeah. It's been a while. It's taken a lot of courage. And it's been that the crone in me, like I said, there's an inner crone that I met in my own psyche when I was doing some soul regression work years ago. And when I like actually energetically take the hand, and it's giving me the courage to just come out and bring this forward. So thank you all. I'm gonna sign out. I speaking of maidens, there's a 14-year-old that keeps walking past my office waiting to see if I'm done, probably to ask if I can drive her to her boyfriend's or something. I'm blessed to have you. So I've got to go. I gotta go be the mother, taming the maiden. Thank you. I love you all. I'll see you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.